All right, guys, real simple question for you. What is the greatest comeback you have ever witnessed in person? All right, you got to be at the game. All right, you know what? Because it's YouTube, we can do whatever we want. Watch it on television. Aggie specific or just big picture? What are some of the games you've been at and seen some amazing comebacks? I'd love to hear about it. I know there's some big ones when it comes to A&M. So comment below right here on this video, wherever you're watching it, on YouTube or if you're doing it on the TexAgs board. It is TexAgs Rewind. We are presented by T-Mobile. They want you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn how you can get value and coverage through T-Mobile. So on the show today, we had that topic because A&M baseball finds a way to come back. They win the series against South Carolina, win 2 of 3 of that game, but in that series. But that Saturday comeback down 9-0, the comeback, we had to talk about that. Jim Schlossnagle joined us here on the show. So did Ryan Broniger, broke down that game itself. OB was there all weekend, or 2 of the 3 games. He was there for the wins, so congrats to OB there covering it. We talked about it during the Go Hour. We also had Tom Hart talking about NCAA stuff going on with the transfers and NIL, you name it. He had to pipe in, and also we had a great video from back in the day when he visited Mississippi State. And it's Billy Liucci, the star of the show. He joined us. We talked for an hour. You do not want to miss it. All the topics were on board there for the show. It is TexAgs Rewind. We now begin the Go Hour with Olin Buchanan. OB, you are a baseball kind of guy this weekend. You were busy.
I was busy. I was working overtime. It seemed like anyway. But it was fun, especially on Saturday. I mean, if you're going to have to work on Saturday and endure a 4-hour-plus baseball game, don't you want to see something amazing? Something that, you just won't ever forget, or, that'll be enduring because of how unlikely it was and how spectacular it became, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then yesterday, another 4-hour game, and, it didn't feel the same, even though the deficit wasn't quite as great, but then Cole Kaler hits a 3-run home run, and all of a sudden it's a 3-run, and you're thinking, okay, the wind's blowing out, and the pitchers of South Carolina are overworked, and hey, you know what this offense is about, but you can't do it all the time. You can't always expect that you're gonna be able to score 10 runs every game. And it's funny. They were probably off by less than an inch winning those games. And what I mean by that is, how many long drives did you see that were warning track outs in that game? That they just barely missed it. And if they had hit it just a little more square, it's probably out.
Yeah.
But, they won the series, and that's all that matters.
So we all have our favorites in sports, right? I think most people who listen to the show probably put college football number 1, but we all have our favorites. Like, you may like baseball, but it's not your number 1. You may like basketball, but it's not your number 1. You may like women's tennis, and it may not be your number 1. But winning makes everybody a fan, especially when it's your school, right? So, like, when the Aggie basketball team started winning, we saw all these people and it's not jumping on the bandwagon. It's fun to watch. This baseball team, regardless if you're a baseball person or not, is fun to watch.
It really is. They're just a bunch of scrappers with they have some power, and everybody likes home runs. And apparently, Bluebell Park is a place where you can hit a lot of home runs from the way the wind blows and things like that. It was just, but they are. They're the type of team you like, the personality of that team.
I got to ask, man, is the way you're winning games sustainable?
It's rare. I don't know that I hate to say it's, it's not ideal, that's for sure, right?
Yeah,
and you don't, I can't remember a team that's really swung their way to Omaha. You're going to have somebody, really step forward on the mound, at least one, if not 2 guys. But I can tell you this, there's different ways to get there. And, just from my own experience being at TCU, I thought that the A&M teams that in 2015 and 16 were super talented, and I didn't think the 2017 team was nearly as good as those teams, and they made it to the College World Series with Coach Childress. So I think there's different things happen. I've had a pitcher at TCU named Brian Howard that every year seemed to have a 4.7 ERA right about this time of year, and then as soon as classes ended and exams began or finished, he just won every single start all the way to Omaha 2 years in a row, and he's the only pitcher in the history of that program to have 10 or more wins in more than one season. And there's been, that includes Jake Arrieta and Matt Pert and all these first rounders. So that can happen for us. And that's, I actually did meet with the pitchers yesterday, and it's just, I'm actually just kind of speechless at how we're doing it. I just know we're doing it, and maybe our pitching staff can write their own story here the last month and a half or between now and the end of June.
Well, a guy on the staff that I think is starting to write his own story a little bit more the more he goes out there is Wyatt Tucker. So what have you seen in his growth really since the start of the spring? Because I know the stuff's been there, but he just kind of had to get a better feel for the strike zone, and that's probably a credit to Coach Yeski.
Yeah, that's basically it. Throw more strikes and get more opportunities, pitch better so he could pitch ahead of the guys who were pitching better. He's added he throws 2 different breaking balls. But I think he's taking advantage of his opportunities, and, we're starting to put him in there more and more when it counts. And he's done a great job. He did an awesome job on Saturday. And so, we'll see how this week plays out. We have some sim games to have. We don't have a midweek game. We need to get rested. I think our guys are beat up like everybody is this time of year, especially exam-wise, mentally. Guys are staying up late at night and then coming to the ballpark in 98 degrees. And, it's not digging ditches, but for a living, it's baseball, so it's not that big a deal. But I think this first Monday and Tuesday this week will help us. But Wyatt's going to get. He's probably got a pretty big opportunity coming here soon.
Talking to Tom Hart here on the BCSI hotline, talking all things college sports with our buddy. What do you make of all this NIL stuff that is going on? Sankey went to D.C. last week with the Pac-12 commissioner. There's talks. All the ADs are talking about it. Is this a lot of talk for nothing, or do you think some real change could come from this?
Well, any change is real change compared to what we have right now, right? So I would expect, based on Greg Sankey flying to D.C. and meeting with rules makers, is that nobody wants Congress to get involved, but we have these individual state laws that are being redrawn as we speak. Connecticut just rewrote their state rule before their session ended, I think, last week. So any guardrails that are put in place, I think, would be a positive. And if you read the tea leaves, my guess is that's what's coming. I don't think you can do away with NIL, but you can put guardrails in place. The concern for me is the latest news is that the NCAA still has enforcement power, and they're looking for ways to enforce what rules are on the books currently, even though they're minimal. We know the old adage, like Jerry Tarkanian used to say all the time, the NCAA is mad at Kentucky, so they're going to put Eastern Washington on probation, right? They're going to come after somebody. Who's it going to be, and who are they going to try to set an example of? And then how long is that thing going to end up in the courts? So I just think there's a great unknown out there, and we've seen athletic departments change based on what they believe the rules to be. Wichita State fired their athletic director last week, and the reason, whether underlying or stated, was that they weren't moving fast enough when it came to NIL, and he didn't embrace it enough to try and get money in the door for, what they've been a very proud basketball program. That's huge. That's a really big deal, and administrators and coaches have had to change how they do things and how they've done them for generations.
It depends on what part of the day. I either feel like there's change coming, and then I'm like, this is just a bunch of talk. I don't know if anything's going to happen anytime soon. How are you feeling about things there?
Man, I'll be honest with you, and this is not obviously about you. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. And I can't imagine our listeners, because I'm sure a good percentage of them are sick and tired of hearing us talk about it. Because when I listen, I enjoy listening to national stuff. You know, when I'm driving or whatever, I'll get in the car. It's typically the only time I do it, but I'll ride around, and, you know, these college football, college sports talk shows, whether it's XM 84, SEC network stuff, Feinbaum, what have you. It's all anyone talks about is NIL, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of the entire sport revolving around it, and I understand that that's what's going on. But until there's something significant, it's like the COVID thing, when these people were trying to create a name for themselves in the national media by being the COVID experts, and they came out and they were the ones that were chasing down every testing protocol and the shutdowns and which games would be canceled and which wouldn't play. And you had some people rooting for games to be canceled, some rooting for the season to be played, and those people fighting with each other. And then people go, you know, just cozying up to conference commissioners so the commissioners could leak their agenda through them, doing the same crap everybody accuses TexAgs of doing when it comes to A&M. They were being the mouthpieces for conferences, for conference commissioners, for ADs, and it was pitiful, and it got tiring, and a lot of people, certain people in the profession, everybody got sick of and muted. And I think that's where NIL's going too. You got people now trying to be Mr. and Mrs. NIL, becoming experts on something that you can't become an expert on, because much like the pandemic, these are uncharted waters, and it changes literally by, like you said earlier, it's like I haven't checked in like an hour. It changes by the hour. So we do need to cover it. We do need to stay on top of it. But I'll say this, I definitely don't want us, meaning all of us in this website and this company, to where we talk about it every second of every day, because God knows it's all we're getting right now. So to go back to what you asked, I agree with you. I think a lot of this is just bluster. This Colorado AD's pissed because he's getting his ass kicked because he's at Colorado, and they're one of the have-nots in the sport. And I get it. There's a lot of have-nots in the sport. A&M's a have in the sport in terms of, you know, visibility, conference affiliation, head coach, money, financial support coming in, resources, facilities, all of those things. Texas A&M's a have. And there's still pressure. Every signing class, every game you play, every off season, every time someone comes after one of your assistant coaches, and now every time someone's going to come after one of your players, or every time a guy training, like, there's so much pressure on A&M, and then it comes to, hey, Texas just did a deal with Bijan Lamborghini. You know, what's that going to do for recruiting other schools? Now Texas players all think they're going to go there and get Lambos, and, you know, just every time, oh, shoot, OU just did this, where every player gets this much money. A&M doesn't have something like that. It's just going to be never ending. And that's even, again, like I said, that's for the half. Nick Saban pissed off, you know, they're the biggest half of them all. But that's what we're into right now.
All right, so I saw Doctor Strange over the weekend, but I bought a ticket for the movie for Thursday, and I ended up showing up on Friday, which I didn't know I bought it for Thursday. That was a mistake. I'm embarrassed by it, and you can make fun of me all you want. I liked the movie. Some people did not. If you saw it, let me know what you thought about it. I know many of you who watch on YouTube do like watching those superhero movies, so let me know what you thought about it. I want you to comment, like, subscribe. Do it! I'm sorry, that was rude. I apologize, so I'll just see you next time.